Hello everyone, welcome back. Today we're doing a video on everything that Fade to Black taught us, basically any important information that Fade to Black told us. And if this video feels familiar, because it is, I already did a video on this, but it was so ranty and rambly that it hurt me inside, so I had to redo it. Also, full disclosure, apparently the Meatly sent out a Twitter post, and apparently the books may or may not be canon anymore, so take all this with a grain of salt. Oi, who's ready for some reading? So, games equal canon. Canon. Books equal, not canon. If you see a story element and character... if you see story elements and character lore in our games that we had made... Then we have made it canon, unless otherwise specified. If you read it in a book, it is not canon to the games. It is its own story that is using the universe of Bendy that is officially licensed. Only the games will determine what is canon. The end. Oh boy, I can't read. Anyway, so yeah, maybe everything I'm about to say is done poo-poo. Anyway, we're still making the video. So I'm going to give you some basic things that you may or may not need to know to understand some of the other stuff I say. So basically, this story revolves around Rose, who gets a job at this filming studio of some sort, where they're making a Joey Drew show, which is basically like the the wonderful world of color that Walt Disney made, where he talks about his art cartoons and his ride attractions.
My name is Joey Drew. You must be here to learn about the wonderful world of anime. Hundreds of drawings just like these go into every minute of your favorite Bendy.
If you can dream it harder,
Dream it! Dreams, they might just come true. Well, hello, Bendy.
and that's the magic of creation. If you want to keep his face on the can, they can darn go paper. I want to be taken for a ride and go downstairs and visit.
That was the beginning of the song Art of Darkness by the Stipendium. Go watch it. Joey is making the show in 1953. The studio shut down in 1949, and Gent soon followed in 1952. So Joey is bankrupt, Gent is bankrupt, and the way Joey's making the show is he's using Nathan Archer's money, who is the father of Wilson, the bad guy from Dark Revival. Yes, I said all. There's so many names that I get jumbled up, and I hope that all makes sense. I'll put some words up on screen. Yeah. So apparently there was some disagreements between Joey and Gent on who should have the ink machine, and what ended up happening is Joey got the ink machine, and he put it down in the basement of this studio that it's not the Joey Drew studio, it's a different studio, but I am calling it studio because that's kind of how they refer to it. Anyway, he put it down in the basement of this filming studio, and he is running his show through the ink machine, and that is how the ink world was created. Or so that's how it was implied to be created. And the thing about this show is it comes with these 3D glasses, and when you put on the 3D glasses, you're basically VR teleported into the show, if that makes any sense. They call them 3D glasses. It's basically VR for the 1950s. So, he has created the ink world. And in one of his shows, this is in one of the parts where he was acting very creepy and strange, like more so than he usually does. But he was making a model of the studio to put on the show, and he kept rambling about how they had to take some creative liberties, and they had to put different sections of the studio in different parts. And I think this is supposed to imply why there's different floors, like, stacked on top of each other in weird ways. You know, in Chapter 3... where you have the elevator buttons, you have like 4 and 12 and P, and they're just random levels. It's not that those other levels don't exist, it's that they don't exist there specifically. Another thing about the ink world is that it exists outside the flow of time and space. 15 minutes in the real world, so to speak, can be almost a year in the ink world. Also, there are these just dark void parts of the inky world where there's just nothing. And I'm showing a picture right now. In Boris and the Dark Survival, if you ever played it, when you go, like, to the edge of the map and you just see the black void, that's basically what it is. And I like to imagine that on the other side of doors, well, actually, I didn't get a picture of it, but, like, sometimes in Boris and the Dark Survival, you'll come to the end of a hallway and there'll be a board. There'll be a door with a board over it. I'd like to imagine, like in Bendy Link Machine or Bendy the Dark Revival, when you can't open a locked door and you can never open it, that is what's on the other side of those doors. It's just black, inky void. Honorable mention, but the Ink Demon can move between the real world and the inky world. I don't know how, but that he just can. Also, I imagine at some point he got, like, bound to the inky world, so he couldn't just hop out of the ink machine whenever he felt like it. And I imagine it was probably I have no evidence for this, it just seems correct-ish. I don't know, but just an honorable mention is the Ink Demon can move between both worlds. And I've mentioned this before, and I've always been curious about how he is now not able to move between the both worlds, or maybe he just doesn't want to, which seems less likely. I imagine he's bound to the ink world in some way, but that's off topic. Another honorable mention is Archie Carter, who I'm not going to get into details about. If you know him, you do. If you don't, go look up his audio log. He gets one in the entire game. He's voiced by Super Horror Bros. But anyway, he's a character in this book. And he was the first, like, lost one and the first person to get put into the ink loop. Not counting the Ink Demon, but I don't count him because he has no soul. At least, as of right now, he doesn't have no soul. Which I always thought is why he couldn't talk. But now he does talk, so I don't know anymore. It might get retconned when the cage comes out, but as of right this moment, Bendy has no soul. So I've touched on, I think, everything that I wanted to touch on relating to the ink machine and the ink loop. If I forget something, I'll probably put it in the moment, because moving around audio in CapCut is a little weird. But moving on, we're going to talk about some other things. These also relate to the Dream Come to Life, and if you haven't read it or something and you care about getting spoiled, I'm going to be mentioning some things from that book. So we're going to speed run through the very end of Dreams Come to Life, because that's the only important part you need to understand for this all to make sense what I'm about to say. So at the very end, our main character Buddy gets pulled into a dark puddle by the Ink Demon, or something similar to that. And Dot, at the very end, they were fighting the Ink Demon. So Dot, she runs away, because reasons. And Buddy, he gets pulled in a dark puddle, and he gets turned into a Boris. It's complicated, we don't need to talk about how that worked. Dot thinks that Buddy's dead. Buddy, I don't know what he's doing right now. Anyway, Buddy's Boris. Dot thinks he's dead. Dot is someone that Rose talks to. Rose is the main character of Fade to Black, but is someone that Rose talks to during this book. And Dot tells Rose that there was an investigation after Buddy disappeared. There is a newspaper clipping from 1946, which is when Dreams Come to Life takes place, that says that the studio is under investigation. And I think that this investigation is direct correlation to Buddy's disappearance. Math. Also, this newspaper clipping is from the Employee's Handbook, by the way. Just wanted to let you know where I pulled this out of. Just, you know, that I'm a very reliable source. I don't pull things out of my butt. I think this is the last thing that I gotta touch on, but Wilson is also in this book. I love how they put so many characters in this book. But anyway, Wilson is in this book, you know, the creepy guy from Dark Revival. And Dot hypothesized that he's, like, between his 20s and 30s. Could be older, could be younger. That's, like, her relatively exact words. And during the book, it says that he talks with a very raspy voice. So I'd like to imagine that Wilson's got some kind of disease, like some chronic disease that he was born with, and that's why he sounds like this.
Audrey, I'm sorry, my dear. Didn't mean to frighten you. You're working late tonight. A pretty girl like you shouldn't be wandering around all by yourself.
For the record, I did once try and figure out what he had. I didn't really come up with anything. I just thought you should know. Before we end, something I forgot to mention is the why Joey is running his show through the ink machine. So Joey has this weird philosophy that I still don't completely understand, but it's basically, he believes that anything can be real, because really nothing is real. And I read his memoir, The Illusion of Living. Doesn't make any sense. It's just more evidence to why Joey is cuckoo bananas. But anyway, that he's trying to make illusion reality because he's crazy, and that is why he's running his show through the ink machine. This all making sense? No, doesn't make any sense to me. Don't think about it too hard. It's Joey, okay? He has one brain cell that bounces around his brain, and whenever it bounces perfectly in the corner, he experiences a thought. And that thought usually causes people to die. Moving on. So, yep, that's the end of this video. I'm very glad I redid it. I think it's much better than the first one. I am going to still do another video at some point talking about just random things I've noticed and wondered about the Bendy universe. Anyway, thank you for watching. I'm also legally required to say that the link to Art of Darkness is down the description somewhere. I'm going to put a lot of links in this video. Anyway, yeah, so go watch the Stupendium's Art of Darkness. That's where I got that clip from. I already mentioned that, but I'm going to mention it again just because, legal reasons. It's a good video, though.